Welcome, everyone. We are here for our We Vote for Democracy Tuesday coffee chat. And today we are going to hear from our featured speakers, Sam Daley-Harris from Civic Courage and Maria Yuan from Issue Voter. These are two great organizations I'm excited to share about. And before we do that, I'm going to quickly share my screen and tell you a little bit about the Why Do You Vote social action campaign. This is a nonprofit, nonpartisan campaign that's part of Money Out Voters In. And we are a Get Out the Vote effort, and we are encouraging people on 7 bridging issues that over 70% of Americans agree on. And we're so excited because this is a conversation. So it's a question, why do you vote? So we're trying to inspire people who haven't voted to get out and register to vote. And these Tuesday morning coffee chats are our educational component of the campaign. And we're doing this on social media, and that's because we need to inspire more young voters, change the narrative from candidates' hopelessness, despair to issues we all care about. And one thing I love to share is that a lot of people think that young people don't care, but actually voter turnout in 2020 was almost as high as at the end of the Vietnam War. So we just want to keep the movement of people voting. And the great thing is when people talk about voting, they see it as a responsibility, it can affect the outcome, and that voting is a right. Yet mainstream media likes to talk about voting really about candidates and the top of the ticket, whereas we want to change the conversation to down ballot and empowerment and our future. And you'll see that only 13% of Gen Z and 10% of millennials say voting for a candidate is why they're voting. We should be having a different conversation. So the other thing I just want to share really quickly before we start is that we are hosting in just less than 3 weeks now the Spark the Vote Social Media and Film Challenge. And we're calling all citizens to participate and make a simple video talking about why they vote. And we have over $50,000 in cash prizes in our 10 different categories. And I'm just going to quickly show you a 1-minute video about as an example of all of these before.
I vote for women's choice because we need autonomy over our own bodies.
Mhm.
I vote for women's choice because we need autonomy over our own bodies. Why do you vote?
I vote because democracy is an important part of the American spirit. Why do you vote?
I vote because the people who came before me made so many sacrifices to make my vote count. And that's why I vote. Why do you vote?
I vote because I want kids to be safe at school. Why do you vote?
I vote because of marriage equality. Why do you vote?
For our environment, to hear our planet, to hear your rights, to hear for everything. So that's the reason I vote. Why do you vote?
I vote because I believe in universal health care for all. Why do you vote?
I vote because I care about marriage equality and people exercising their rights. Why do you vote?
I vote because action is the antidote to despair. Why do you vote?
So I just thought I'd start that call because action is the antidote to despair. And I want to first share a document that you can all, if you feel like sharing your info, and we will share resources here. So please fill in your information if you want to stay connected. And first, I'd love to hear from Sam Daley-Harris with Civic Courage, and who also founded Results decades ago and has helped inspire so many amazing activist groups such as Citizen Climate Lobby, who's one of our partners. And I'd love for you to introduce all the amazing work you do. Thank you, Sue.
Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm not going to be focused on an issue, but a form of advocacy, transformational advocacy. I'm going to do a Cliff's Notes version of my story of self. I'm going to share a question I was asked on National Public Radio. I'm going to make the distinction between transactional and transformational advocacy, and then share how you can get involved. Cliff Notes version what is your story of self? And here's a Cliff Notes version of mine. I started out as a musician, but the deaths of two people I cared about got me to asking the questions of purpose. Why am I here? What am I here to do? What's my purpose? A presentation on ending world hunger showed me that change was possible. I got involved and spoke to 7,000 high school students. And before I went into the first classroom, I read quotes calling for the political will to end hunger. So I asked 7,000 high school students, what's the name of your member of Congress? I don't know if you wrote them or met, just the name. The number that could answer was 200, fewer than 3%, 6,800, over 97% could not tell me the name of the member of Congress, and Results was founded 44 years ago out of that gap. On a call, an interview on 1A on NPR, this was question number 2, which is why I wrote my book, Re-Release, Reclaiming Our Democracy. He said, quote, the passive nature to our politics now, you can feel beat down by it. I mean, this is my career and I feel beat down by it. It's much more of an effort for me. I don't participate the same way others do because I'm a political journalist, but I do have to pay attention. It's a grind. It's a grind, Sam. I mean, I know you know that. What am I feeling? What is the way out of that? That was question number 2 on this national NPR program. The first thing I said was, well, Apollo astronaut Rusty Schweickart said, we aren't passengers on Spaceship Earth. We're the crew. Well, are we? And if we are, how does crew act? Second thing I said was futurist Alex Steffen said, in fact, these days, cynicism is obedience. Well, yeah, if I'm cynical, I'm obedient to the way things are. I'm not going to do anything. Why would I if nothing I do makes a difference? So the last 2 bits are transactional advocacy is sign the petition, transaction complete. But with transformational advocacy, you're trained, encouraged, and succeed at doing things as an advocate you never thought you could do, like meet with a member of Congress and bring them on board to your issue. And when you do that, you see yourself in a new light. You see yourself as a community leader. A transformation has taken place. And here's a form in chat if you want to connect, if you want to find out how to join my e-blast list, if you'd like to be connected with one of the groups I coached that work to deliver transformational advocacy, and if you know a speaking opportunity. Was that 5 minutes? Or
that's a great introduction to your beginning, and I will look forward in the Q&A to learning so much more about how you turn cynicism and inaction into action and transformational leadership. I actually had the pleasure of citizen lobbying with Results and with Sam back in, I think, 2010 or 2009. And it changed my life and the power. I love going to whether it's DC or Sacramento or my local office and speaking up about the issues that I care about. Before I came to your conference, I had no idea that I could do that as a citizen. And I had even gone in high school to a DC trip, learning about government, but did not realize, and it's addictive. So like now I try to do it as much as I can. And I think this will be the perfect segue to hear from Maria about the amazing work that Issue Voter does to engage people directly in participation in our democracy and using your voice directly with electeds.
Great. Thank you so much, Holly. Thanks for having me today. So a little background on me. Let's see, I'm in Austin, Texas, and the inspirational moment for Issue Voter came to me when I was a campaign manager in Iowa, a state really known for its voter engagement and was so frustrated by the fact that we do spend a lot of time and money on elections, but we have very few ways, and it can be very hard to understand what's happening between elections when the real work that affects our lives gets done. And so I set off to really try to solve that problem in a way that would work for as many people as possible and that would be both efficient and impactful. And so a little bit more background on me, I think the other thing that really inspired this journey is the fact that I did grow up with parents who always voted. And so from a young age, I did see it as our civic duty. So what Issue Voter does is it's a website. It's a nonpartisan, nonprofit, and we have a app and a website. And so the way that it the issues and asking what issue do you care about? And so what Holly mentioned that sat in the beginning, I think really, of course, as soon as I start to speak, that's when my Zoom decides to kick me off. So I'm on my phone now. So this works perfectly fine too, just no slides, but I can still explain, of course. So the way that Issue Voter works, Congress introduces over 20,000 bills each session. And so who has really the time to know about them or to even understand them? And even now, some of the ways that we contact Congress can feel really outdated. So of course, there's if you're in DC or if you're in your district office, you can make in-person visits, but other forms of communication still involve things like snail mail, fax machine, and who even owns a fax machine these days? So the way that Issue Voter works is when you go to issuevoter.org to sign up, all that we ask is the issues that you care about and your address so we can automatically find your reps. And so to Sam's point, a lot of people don't even know who their reps are. So we find them for you automatically and connect you. And then what we do is we send an alert before Congress is about to vote on a bill related to an issue that you care about. We translate the bill into layman's terms with points from both sides and links to related news. And we also link to the full bill text if you are interested in reading the full bill. And then when you click support or oppose, we send your opinion directly to your office in DC. And so again, echoing what Sam said, it's not a petition used for list building. It's not a poll to sell your data. It's going directly to the staffer in charge of collecting constituent opinions. And so that's usually a legislative correspondent or a staff assistant. And then each individual that uses Issue Voter gets a scorecard that shows you the percentage of time your rep is voting how you would want them to vote throughout the year. So you could see during the year, my rep is representing me 100% of the time, 0%, 30%, 80%, whatever that number it is. But then it's up to you to then make the decision of whether you want to reelect that person. So it's really a tool to help people make their voices heard between elections and become more informed voters. And as a nonprofit, I'm really proud of the fact, and as a small nonprofit, I'm really proud of the fact that whenever we send an alert, we're activating almost always over 500, most of the time over 1,000 people to send their opinions to Congress. And people, as a result of using Issue Voter, have said that they learn new issues. 74% of people have said they've been exposed to new viewpoints. We've had people tell us before Issue Voter, I didn't even know there could be another side to this issue. We've had people tell us 83% have said it's inspired them to take other forms of civic action, which we defined as registering to vote, attending a town hall meeting, or volunteering. And in the last 2 election cycles, 37% of people using Issue Voter said that it's what motivated them to vote in the first place. So definitely a much higher percentage of our users are voters, but it's something that I think once people start to really see what is Congress doing beyond what I'm hearing about on the news and who are my reps and are they representing me, are much more confident in voting. One of the reasons that people sometimes don't vote is they don't want to be an uninformed voter. And so Issue Voter can help give people that insight and confidence to be an informed voter and actually go out and vote. Thank you. I'll just mention, since it's a new crowd here, we also do a lot with education. So we have a free lesson plan for schools. If any of you are connected with teachers, there's a place on our website to get that. And then we also do partner with other nonprofits and colleges and universities as well.
Thank you, Maria. That's so helpful. And before we get to the part of Q&A, I just want to share again our document where people can find the resources. And I'd love to first, the idea here is to connect, empower, and engage. So I'd love anybody who feels like speaking up of what brought them to the call. Please share why you're here and what what you want to learn about how we can be better citizen activists and engaged citizens. So you can raise your hand, or anybody. I know we have Emily. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I'm really impressed with both Sam and Maria, your presentations. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I wanted to say I'm making a film called The Space Between, and the website is spacebetweenfilm.org. I'm like Holly, I'm a filmmaker. It's my first film, and it's all about how the division between Americans is largely a self-fulfilling prophecy and not actually based on reality, which we know from Why I Vote that over 70% of Americans agree on those issues. Is it 8 issues or 7?
We have 7, yes.
7 issues. And so I just wanted to plug the film really quick. I'm on all the socials. Maria, I'd love to list your organization in the film. I'd love to mention it as a resource because I am going to be, sort of the conclusion of the film is like, what can you do as a citizen to keep your politicians accountable and stay informed? So I'd love to post about it on social media if that works for you.
Please, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, all right. We're already connecting, empowering, and engaging. I love it. Does anybody else want to speak up about what brought them here?
Well, sure. Oh, Ty, you go ahead. Ty, you're muted.
Yes. Go ahead, Michelle. I want to hear. I'm so happy to see you. Happy to see your face, hear your voice. And I'm here because of Michelle. So go ahead, share what you were going to share. I'm excited about what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Sutter. I'm the president of Movi. Why Do You Vote is a Movi enterprise. I'm thrilled to see you again, Sam. It's been quite a while. And Maria, I'm so excited about what you're doing. And I'm wondering what your reach is, and do you have plans to try and take this national, or are you national? Can you speak a little bit to that?
So we started at the national level and actually would love to expand to the local level. We have people using Issue Voter in all 435 congressional districts and even in Puerto Rico. And most of that has spread word of mouth very organically. We've never had a marketing budget. So please, happy to have you share it with friends. It's a free public resource, and happy to have people also become monthly supporters. But the biggest plans, so the on the horizon goals and plans are to add language translations to become a multilingual resource. That's a short-term plan that we hope to do within the next 6 months. And then again, on the horizon is a dream would be to be able to cover state legislation. It gets can get a lot more complicated looking at every single state. So we hope to figure out a way maybe to launch or do pilots in some of the states and then expand from there.
Great. Do a pilot in California, please. We could really use it. Thank you.
And 1 out of 8 Americans are Californians, I believe.
Yeah.
But you'd reach a lot of people. Does anybody else want to share why they're here? Why this?
I would like to.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Ty, and my claim to fame is I know Michelle for many, many years at Hubert. I've always been impressed by her passion, and as she's spoken a little bit about working with politics. And I'm a hypnotherapist, a metaphysical hypnotherapist, and a futurist. And I take people into their ideal future to help individuals and organizations create their ideal future. And right now, and just in the last couple of months, because of Kamala Harris coming to the forefront, I am the most excited I've ever been about the future of our country and about the future of the world, because the male chauvinism has finally cracked. And with Joe Biden stepping back and actually promoting Kamala Harris, the goddess, the feminine, the cooperation, the creativity that the feminine includes, is now coming forth in the world for the first time in human history. So I'm very excited about the future. And And I've always enjoyed Michelle and Hubert, and now I see what with the move on and with this engaging young people particularly. So I'm intrigued by that because most what I find, I've studied the future and people and the way they relate to the future and the mind for over 40 years. And what I found, sadly, here's a chart that comes from u.gov. There you can see. These are various countries over here. That's the USA, Germany, Sweden, France, and the chart shows the red part is the percentage of the population that think the world is either stuck or getting worse. The blue part, this little bitty part over here, 6% in the United States, is the people that believe the world is getting better. So the mindset of the world sucks. And we can't win a game if 94% of the people think it's an impossible project. So my goal, and what Michelle and I and Hubert have talked about many times, is metaphysics and creating the mindset for success, for the world to change. And when I found this out, this came from a study in in 2016, and it hasn't. Then we had COVID and the war, and so it's gotten worse, sadly, which is insane. But so my interest is, and I loved seeing the videos of getting young people engaged in seeing, in participating and voting. But even more, what I'm intrigued with is that helping them to see a whole future that works.
Exactly.
And I'd love to participate with you and Michelle and help young people. My daughter's 38 and now I have 2 3-year-old granddaughters. And I want them to grow up in a world where everybody, if we could flip this chart so that 90% of people saw the world working, we'd have a whole different world and people would participate more, because right now they feel like they're riding on the Titanic.
Right.
And so I'm excited to hear what you're doing and the way you're engaging, particularly young people, because they are going to be the future.
Thank you,
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. I love that. I mean, as a filmmaker, that's the whole idea, like using the power of filmmaking and sharing short personal stories, and on these 7 bridging issues that over 70% of Americans believe in. Like, we can create that future. So the first step is getting people to register to vote and voting. And then what we're going to keep learning about is how to become more engaged citizens. And with that, I'd love to invite Sam again to talk about your methods for getting people to the next step, and that most people actually want to do more.
Sure.
And they
Let me address something Ty said, and then I'll come to the methods. I would estimate that a good portion of that 6% who have some hope are people who are doing something, people who are engaged. And in my book, Reclaiming Our Democracy, I tell the story of Ellie Sparks, who at the time was a volunteer. She's on staff of Citizens Climate Lobby right now. She said when she joined CCL, she was suffering from what she called climate trauma. She would read Bill McKibben's book, Earth, and she would weep at home and weep at work. Then she joins, starts meeting with members of Congress, getting trained. 18 months later, she meets 20 congressional offices over a 4-day period, and she describes the experience as sacred and profound. And she goes from climate trauma to sacred and profound, really largely out of her engagement, and her engagement with an organization that was committed to delivering transformational advocacy. And I'm going to name 3 ingredients, kind of like church shopping, even though I'm Jewish. But one is recruitment and community. Does the organization bring new people in, not just to build an e-blast list, but in a sense, form them into local chapters? That's the recruitment part. And do they have things like a monthly nationwide webinar with guest speakers, Q&A, inspiration to build community? Number 1, recruitment and community. Does the organization do that? Most do not. 2, training. How do you get the meeting? How do you plan for the meeting? What do you ask for in the meeting? How do you write a letter to the editor? 2, training. 3, breakthroughs. The organization encourages you to move out of your comfort zone, over to where the magic happens, to have a breakthrough, to do something you never thought you could do, like write a letter to the editor on an issue you care about and have it published. Recruitment and community building, training, and breakthroughs. That's what I'm looking for in an organization that's working to deliver transformational advocacy.
I love that. And I can attest to that because, as I said, over, probably 15 years ago now, I did my first citizen lobbying with results. I was engaged, I was trained, I had my breakthrough, I visited offices, I got letters to the editor published.
You saw yourself in a new light.
Yeah, and it works. So it's really exciting. And that's what we're trying to do here with our weekly calls up through the election. Educate, empower, engage, connect.
And I've just put that form again if folks want to engage in some way.
And then I'm putting those notes here of what you said. And of course we have
what you said, Sam, about the engagement. One of the things that I have found in working with the future with myself and thousands of clients for the last 40 years is if you don't have hope for the future, you won't get engaged. If you don't have hope, like riding on the Titanic, why bother? And most people feel they are. So that one of the things that's wonderful about what each one of you is doing, giving little glimmers of hope that, oh, it's possible. And still the big picture of what would it be like Buckminster Fuller, I have his life mission up here above my computer. And he said, to make the world work for 100% of humanity. And that's what we need to do. And most people don't even think that's possible. So little bits of steps towards that. If we can imagine the world can work, most people don't think it's possible, but it is. We're going there. Mm-hmm. And Holly, as you said, the film and with your program, asking people, why do they vote? Have you ever looked at or discussed with them why they don't vote?
It's funny. Some people are asking about whether they might do that with the campaign. And actually, one of our past speakers, Lulu Friesdat, is a filmmaker, and she looked at why people don't vote. So I'd be happy to follow up with you more about that. But I see Alex Copland has their hand raised. I can't tell. Sorry, Alex. Yes.
Yeah, hi. This is a very interesting conversation. And I live in Alaska, and I'm the past president of the state league for the League of Women Voters. And I wanted to mention that, and I'm not selling anything because I've been in the voting business since I retired from teaching. And Alaska is different, just like every other state. We're now voting this in November. We'll vote to repeal ranked choice voting in an open primary. So we have a fight on our hands. And the League of Women Voters for the United States, where you live, there's different leagues. And so that's a good organization to get into. I'm a little different. I support non-voters. My strategy is I talk a lot. I live in a small town called Homer, Alaska. And so people, when they see me, Alex, I didn't vote this election, or I did. So everybody knows me as that. We've gotten some things in, like we've gotten bulletin boards that say early voting starts a week ahead of time to remind people. I support local races versus national. National just drives me crazy because I don't feel like I have a lot there. But the state here, we're small. Everybody knows everybody. Writing letters. I just think individual conversations with people and listening, active listening versus like, why don't you vote? I support non-voters all the time because they tell me why. And I said, I don't know why you would vote either. It's one of those things. And I follow Australia and I follow compulsory voting. And we have conversations daily about how to increase. We have problems here in rural Alaska where there's no road system and many ballots get rejected because of rules. But Alaska is a very healthy state in terms of making voting accessible. We haven't done some of these laws that have been Georgia's got one right that's just terrible. And I just wanted to put one plug in. There's a lot I could say, but on Wednesdays, there's a program called Fix Democracy First. It's the woman's name is Cindy Black, and she's from Washington State. And she's Heather Cox Richardson for voting, as far as I'm concerned. So It starts at 4 o'clock Alaska time, 5 o'clock Washington time, and it's every Wednesday, and it's Fixed Democracy First. And if you want to learn about elections and voting across the country, she does a great recap, and then the last 45 minutes they focus on a subject. Anyways, thanks for doing that show, and I just wanted to make those comments in case, and I'm glad people are here trying to figure this out. It's definitely an issue.
Yes, thank you, Alex. One of the things we really like to talk about is down ballot and how important local races are. And we actually did feature Cindy Black from Fix Our Democracy on one of our calls. So if you go to our events page, I will share that here. You can go back and listen to the call that she was on. And this is also on our shared spreadsheet. So any resources that people want to share, please go in and add to our democracy tab. And
if I may, I don't want to cause any trouble, but Alaska has, I'm making up numbers, 30 times fewer citizens and 2 US senators. And California, I'm making up numbers, has 30 times more citizens and 2 US senators. So Alaska is a great place to live to make a difference between elections. Not trying to cause any trouble.
Yeah,
we here in California feel that very acutely.
Yes, like I mentioned, we have basically 40 million Californians, which is about 1 out of every 8 Americans, yet we only have 2 senators. And just Los Angeles County has 5 million voters, which is larger than many states combined. And that's just one county. When you talk about the numbers, it's pretty shocking. Does anybody else have any insights they want to share, questions they want to share? I mean, Sam, I would love a mini training about like how do you greet these conversations?
Okay, I'm going to do one little quickie right now. When I'm coaching a group who's meeting with a member of Congress who opposes their bill, I have them ask 3 questions. 1, we know you don't support this bill. What would it take to change your mind? 2, could you say more about that?
Oh, that's okay.
3, why do you think that is? And so I'm thinking of a guy from Pennsylvania who kept traveling to Florida because he wanted to get the first Republican and Democrat to head a House Climate Solutions Caucus. And he asked a Republican congressman, what would it take to change your mind? You're listening for assignments. He asked, what would it take to change your mind? The congressman said, well, if you could get the chambers of commerce on board. And he did. Miami Beach, Coral Gables, South Miami. And he came back with letters from the chambers of commerce. And the congressman said, well, if you could get the mayors on board. And he did. Miami Beach, Coral Gables, South Miami. And in 2016, the House Climate Solutions Caucus was launched. I don't want to overstate what that is, but it's at least beginning to talk together. It grew to 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats. At the end of 2016, Donald Trump was elected. It fell to 6 and 6 because it was Noah's Ark style. And during the first 2 years of Trump's administration, it grew to 45 Republicans and 45 Democrats. When a year or 2 prior to that, you weren't like allowed to use the word climate change on the Republican side of the aisle. We know you don't support this bill. What would it take to change your mind? Could you say more about that? Why do you think that is? It's a deep listening exercise.
Great. And I've taken these notes and put them in our resource document as training for meeting.
With
so
a post.
Helpful. So helpful. I also love that you always go in with a thank you if you have one. First, thank them for one thing that they have done that you liked. And that's where I think it would be great with Issue Voter. You can actually see what people have voted on. Maria, how easy is it on? Do you want to show your website and how people would do an example?
It's hard
Or
for
you're
me
on
to
your
do
phone now. Oh.
as I would, but if you do go to issuevoter.org/bills, you can start browsing the bills before even signing up. And I think that will give you a good idea of what it looks like. And there is also the app. So we have an iOS app for the iPhone and like iPad because a volunteer came forward and actually created it for us, which we were so thankful for. And so we don't have an Android version, but I'm hopeful that we may have a Android volunteer step forward at some point too.
Future visioning.
Well, I just logged on.
Volunteer.
It's truly amazing what people are doing. It blows my mind. You know, it's a small group of people here, but each one is doing something so important. So thank you all. Amazing. Beautiful.
Could I just say hello to Martha Merson, who's on right now, and maybe she would introduce herself and tell us about her note in chat.
Hi, all. I'm Martha. I'm usually based in Boston. I work with an editorial board for the Grassroots Connector. And, you know, a lot of us are reading folks like Simon Rosenberg, Robert Hubble, Jessica Craven. They talk about some of the trends they're seeing. They talk about what the polls are showing, what work we have to do. But at the Grassroots Connector, we talk about how we actually do it. So we're the people who care about whether the postcard is landscape or portrait. We're the people who care about whether it's 14 point or 12 point. We care about what you actually say when you go to the doors. Do you knock on every door or only the strong Democratic doors? Who's out there sort of doing this voter engagement work, and what are we learning place to place? How can we be supporting each other more effectively? How can we be learning from each other's little mini breakthroughs? So that's the kind of work that we're publishing. We're 2 or 3 times a week for free on Substack. Wrote about Holly and her project, is presented in an interview with Sam. Happy to make your work visible if you can make that link to like, what do volunteers who are doing voter engagement do with this? Why do they care? And yeah, what else, Sam? You're the interviewer. What else did you want to know?
Well, that in chat, you might put it in again, is a link to subscribe to the Grassroots Connector.
And I was just drafting something to say. Holly earlier in the conversation mentioned roll-off. We're going to have an article about it next week, and Sister District will be presenting their research on how we Democrats have lost state houses, districts in so many places by hundreds or small numbers of thousands of votes. Even when the top of the ticket in 2020, Biden won by 10,000 votes, we might lose by 450 or 2,500 because Democrats overall are like, well, if I don't really know the candidates, if I'm not really clear on the issues, maybe I just should hold off. I shouldn't vote. Whereas Republicans are more likely to just go R check. So we need to do more education with voters about what their state reps do, how the decisions about climate change and reproductive freedom are happening at the state level. And just make sure to emphasize in this election cycle, just vote the whole damn ballot. It's not hard, you know, but I totally, as an adult educator, understand that when people go to the polls, it often makes them feel stupid. Like, here's all these things that are not familiar, don't know these names, don't know what the Secretary of State does, and I don't know why I should care about the auditor. And if that's the feeling, I'm not going to go vote again. It makes me feel stupid. People do not like to feel stupid. So everything we can do to make people feel like, oh, I'm going in, I know what I'm doing, I feel empowered. After it, I'm going to feel wonderful. I don't know. That to me is like the self-perpetuating and the momentum that we need as we continue to try to get higher numbers of people engaged.
That's a great point, Martha. And first of all, I just want to say money out, voters in, and the Why Do You Vote campaign is nonpartisan, but of course, everybody is welcome to their personal views. And we did have a great call where we talked about voter guides, and that is online. Guides.vote has a great one We were walked through ActiVote, so that you can find out more about your ballot and go in with that knowledge and not feel, I mean, some of the ballots are so many pages long and there's so much to vote on. And we really want to inspire people to vote down ballot. Like here in Los Angeles, the city council voted to ban oil drilling, which is amazing. You know, the health effects, and the part of our campaign is that we try to talk about the intersectionality of all of these issues. You know, climate is related to healthcare. If you live near an oil drilling, you know, sensible gun laws, like what is happening, it's all linked to who we are. We're not just one issue voters, we are complex individuals. We all care about a lot of things. And if we can move the needle on these 7 issues that most Americans actually agree on,
Yeah.
you know, why would the only pushback might be the big money or some extremist thinking. But really most Americans agree on the 7 issues in our campaign, and we're trying to bring voting and all of the intersectionality of these issues because it affects us all. And I really hope you can come back for other calls on all of our issues or visit the videos. So Michelle, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Holly. Martha, I'm so interested in what you speak about because I also think that, you know, fear of humiliation and feeling stupid is something that keeps people away from the ballot box. And I'm hoping that in our Why Do You Vote campaign, we can even have videos saying, hey, it's really not that hard. And to try and make first-time voters who haven't registered to vote because they don't know how to do it and they feel that they will do it wrong, to make it seem like, oh, I think maybe I probably could do this, right? Without saying, look at all those morons over there who are voting, and if they can figure it out, you can. The coffee chat that Holly referenced, that I loved, the woman from Virginia, Holly, which organization?
That's Andrea Miller from the Center for Common Ground. Wait, yeah, I can share that link to that call. Hold on.
Because what she built, and what I think would be spectacular for both, you know, what you're doing, Martha, and what Maria's doing, was essentially a scatter plot where people can put in sort of where they fall on the scale of large support or very much opposed. And then you delineate, you know, that, and then the scatter plot shows you among the people who are running for office, here's how they align with your beliefs. If that were something that were accessible to more voters, I think we could really demystify this, so that people would feel more comfortable voting down ballot. So that's my bit of future visioning for this morning.
Holly, that's ActiVote, isn't it? What?
Yeah, ActiVote.
ActiVote.
Yeah, Andrea Miller from the Center for Common Ground walked us through ActiVote's platform.
Yes.
And ActiVote has partnered with us for the campaign, so they're on our partner page, but they have a very robust online tool to see, you know, if people are aligned with your thinking. And the more you use it, the more finessed it will be to see.
And it's 365 days a year, going back. I believe Martha made the point, I think Maria also, that it's not just voting one day and then never thinking about it again. You've got to follow up. And that's what I love about ActiVote. It's every day, 365 days a year. It sets you up to understand what's going on. And for all 50 states, I think that's amazing.
Yes, and if justice is on the ballot, like judges, one of the hardest things is finding good information about judges and if they're on the ballot. So that's a really great resource.
I mean, there's a lot of persuasion to be done, right? Because it's not so simple. The way things are worded, it takes a little time. It takes a little time to like get those names in your head or make a cheat sheet or something. And so yeah, it's got to be like this multi-prong, like you're going to do this and it's not going to pay off immediately. You're not going to see something in your paycheck next week. Your rent's not going to immediately go down, but but like with some concerted effort and with follow-up and with connecting with other people. Like, I don't know, it's a muscle. You got to keep using it.
Yeah. And you make the point that ballot measures are intentionally written to be confusing. We see what Ron DeSantis is doing with the language on their abortion question on their ballot to try to confuse people. And of course, Ohio did it in issue 1. So it is a muscle that you continually need to flex in order not to be fooled.
We actually had a whole call about the misinformation campaigns that went down in Ohio and what can be coming. So again, please go to our past calls. I think you'll find there really amazing information on all of these topics.
And I just add one thing. Thank you, Michelle, for being my friend for so many years and just speaking about the little things. And now I see much more in depth what you're engaged in and how all of you are so passionate. You give me hope. My granddaughters have a better future because of all of you and the passion that is palpable here. I thank you for that. And what my suggestion is, if you flipped your own script and look at how clear is your vision of Buckminster Fuller's world where the world works for 100% of humanity. And if you write that out and actually have a vision of that, all motivation comes from our future. And the more of us that have a vision of a world that works, it's much more likely to happen. If only 6% have a vision, it's going to be harder to do. And I wish you all an awesome future. And thank you. I feel more excited and more like you're talking about feeling stupid. And I've never really felt stupid in regard to voting, but I just would vote this and this. And then all the rest of them were, I have no idea. And I just realized, yeah, there is kind of I don't feel informed. So it's not quite feeling stupid, but it's out of step. And I really appreciate your mentioning that, Martha. And I feel more engaged and more excited about our voting system because of what all of you have done in just this conversation today. Thank you very much.
Great to see you here, Ty.
That also makes me think of like one of the things we love about our campaign is that it can be intergenerational. So I'm just going to take a minute and share this great video that Ed Begley Jr. did with his daughter, because most people, when they vote for the first time, they vote with a family member.
I vote for clean air.
I vote to keep our rivers clean and our water usable.
I vote to protect native trees like this.
I vote because solar power works. We vote because we care about the future of our planet.
Why do you vote?
So, when we're talking about the Spark the Vote challenge, we like little short, brief stories that are personal and inspiring, like, why do you vote? What's in your heart? You noticed on our logo, we have the heart in the middle of you. So this campaign is really about all of us. We like to call it virtual door knocking because the candidates and the politicians work for us. We often forget that, but they work for us. They should be listening to us. And the mainstream media loves this, left-right divide when really that just keeps you glued to the screen. It keeps people fighting, arguing. But no, we want to create a better future, get to these bridging issues most people agree on. Can we create vision, make this happen? And with that, I still want to ask Sam to do a little training on letters to the editor, because it was so exciting. After I did my citizen lobbying, we got back and met in a small group and we all wrote our letters. And I think 2 out of our 3 letters actually got published in the LA Times. But you're the master of the training. So I'd love to have you share how you train people to get letters to the editor published.
Well, there are a couple of things. One is a letters to the editor training is 90 minutes long. Can everyone stay? No, just kidding. But one of the pieces is teaching a laser talk. So that actually a little short elevator speech on the issue. So you actually have some clarity on what you're going to be talking about. And then it's a whole training about what does your newspaper require? How many words do they allow? Do they want you to submit your name, address, and phone number? Not that they'll publish it that way. Read some letters to get the tone of the ones that are already in and see how they're started. I'd like to go back, if I can, for 1 second to where's Ty's little
Chart.
6% with hope, and share a quote from um, Paul Hawken, who said, it's estimated between 98 and 99% of humanity is disengaged. Oh, your friends might be engaged, but between 98 and 99% of humanity is disengaged. From the Earth's point of view, there's no difference between a climate denier and someone who understands the problem but actually doesn't do anything. So anyway, I'm going to put my little sign-up sheet in again. If you want to be connected to a group that really trains you on letters to the editor, helps engage the disengaged, et cetera, you can let me know in that little piece.
Yeah, it might be fun for you and Maria to partner up and do some trainings for her
Well,
members.
for Maria and everyone,
Yeah.
Sam at civiccourage.org. Sam at civiccourage.org.
Yeah. And you were able to train Citizens Climate Lobby, and I mean,
right,
the
for
numbers
7
are
years.
staggering to the
Well,
reach
if
they've
I
got.
make, I'll close with this. I was talking with the head of organizing, but very big group. Everyone on this call would know their name. He said to me, the head of organizing, we can't let our volunteers write letters to the editor or op-eds because they'll get it wrong and misrepresent the organization. You know, protecting the brand is more important than empowering your members. Well, Citizens Climate Lobby, certainly the year before COVID, that year their volunteers had 4,300 letters, op-eds, and editorials published. One group is saying they'll get it wrong and misrepresent the organization. The other group is asking, well, what do we have to do to help them get it right? And give that to them. And as a result, they got 4,300 letters, op-eds, and editorials published. So it's a pretty stark world out there when it comes to empowerment.
Wow, that's amazing.
Speaking of asking a dumb question, can I ask one? I wanted to save all these things in the chat, and I used to have a little icon down at the bottom, just click and it would save the chat. Does anyone know where that went?
Well, that's why I've been keeping things on the spreadsheet that I keep sharing. So if you go to that spreadsheet, we have the links that, Sam has been sharing his and the other notes.
Oh, cool.
That's why we do the shared spreadsheet so that everybody
Cool.
can stay engaged.
Thank you, Holly.
And does anybody else have any questions or have anything they want to share? We have a few more minutes left, but I've been so enjoying this call. I'm hopeful for our future. I hope we are inspiring others. Maria, do you have anything else do you have an event coming up in September just in case people are in Austin?
Oh, we do. Yes. So we do have a fundraising event happening in September. We are doing it with another nonprofit that is a national organization like Issue Voter, but local to Austin. And so if you are going to be in Austin in September, you can feel free to reach out to me. So similarly, you can email me. It's just maria@issuevoter.org.
Okay. And I'll put Sam and Maria's email in the document as well. So yes, spread the word to people in Austin. Anybody else want to have any last questions?
I just want to say I love Holly.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Me too, Sam.
I'm a fan of Sam's because, if you are part of any organization, please get trained. He is the master of this. I mean, just read his book. It's the new edition came out. I don't think I put the link to your book.
It's called Reclaiming Our Democracy, and the first edition came out 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
we were all teenagers back then.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I will put a link to that book there. But I thank you all for taking your time on this Tuesday. And we do this on Tuesdays because voting is on Tuesdays. So we're trying to create that habit. remind people. And then we hope you can all join our Spark the Vote social media and film challenge. I will also share the website for that directly to the challenge here. We'd love for you to bring your voice, tell other people in your community. Alex, tell the League of Women Voters in Alaska, participate in talking about, I mean, they have great stories about being poll workers, getting out the vote, registering people. We'd love to have their voices shared, on social media posts so that other people can hear them. And I just so thank you all for taking the time today, and let's stay connected and engaged and empowered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ollie.
Bye.